You guys, I'm here in Jiu-Jitsu heaven with my friend Evangelos from Bahrain. Sir, tell them what's up.
Hi everyone.
So Evangelos lives in Bahrain, trains at the Gracie University Certified Training Center in Bahrain, one of the most beautiful schools in our entire global network of certified training centers, run by the amazing Amar, Jassim, Samir, Reda, the amazing crew out there. So thanks for visiting. And he travels all over the world, but tell us a little bit about your story. Before you joined the CTC in Bahrain, you trained jiu-jitsu at what we fairly say a very sport jiu-jitsu school. Is that fair to say?
Yes. So I had always wanted to do jiu-jitsu, mainly for self-defense, but also to try something difficult and kind of put myself out of my comfort zone. So I did a bit of research and ended up with a large jiu-jitsu school, with a kind of prestigious brand name. And I trained there for 4 weeks because then the school had to close because of COVID. But unfortunately, the experience was, I would say, underwhelming and quite mediocre, for a number of reasons. First of all, I wanted to do self-defense. And even though the school marketed itself as a self-defense school, basically it was all competition. So for example, I think it was in my first or second class, the instructor was showing a move and then he said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that, otherwise you will lose 2 points." So I was completely lost. I thought, I want to learn how to fight, not to win points.
So in your second class, they're already talking about points and you didn't even understand what that even meant because that's not why you showed up.
Yes, exactly. So another instance is, I think it was probably the second week, they partnered me up with a very tall and large individual. I think it was his first day there, brand new white belt. I'm a brand new white belt, and we had to practice throws.
Huge guy.
We didn't know how to break a fall at the time. They probably showed us once or twice how to break a fall, but we didn't know. We couldn't remember.
Sure.
I hurt my shoulder. This guy, I think 2 weeks later, hurt his back and had to quit. So again, done. So that wasn't great.
So you felt like what you were intrigued about jiu-jitsu in terms of it being something that is effective for a fight and protecting yourself was not what you arrived and got.
No, it was clearly, you could tell I was attending the evening classes, and I think most of the instructors there, who were great, by the way, super nice people, and
talented competitors.
Very talented. I don't blame them at all. They were, but their focus was competing. So you could tell by the evening when it was time for them to teach the class, they were just very tired, not really focused. Couple of times during the class, some of them were just checking their mobile phones. So it as a student and as a client, I felt that it came across as a chore to them more than something they enjoyed doing, teaching.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's almost like the school was for competitors of jiu-jitsu and you weren't that competitor, so what were you?
A way for them to pay the bills, I guess. I don't know.
So there it is. Yeah. So they market self-defense to get people like Evangelos to show up, to pay hard-earned money, to do classes that are talked about as self-defense, but actually are sport jiu-jitsu classes, so that you can pay the bills to keep the building open, so that they can train sport jiu-jitsu all day and then be tired at night and then be on their cell phone when they're supposed to be teaching you jiu-jitsu, any kind of jiu-jitsu, but they're on their phone over here and then come over here. Isn't it kind of interesting? Yeah. So COVID happened, and you said it's almost a blessing in disguise, COVID, that it happened because it forced you to take a break from the school.
Yeah, for my jiu-jitsu journey, it was a blessing in disguise, obviously, and then I realized that there was a Gracie University that had opened in Bahrain, and once they lifted restrictions, I joined them. It was about a year ago, and different universe. From the moment you walk in.
Gracie universe. A different universe. So tell me about the walk-in. Tell me about that. And you've been to, we'll talk about the several CTCs you've been all over the world, but tell me when you walk into Gracie Bahrain, one of our, again, an amazing CTC, amazing team, but what are you feeling when you get in there?
It's just warmth the way they welcome you, you know, from the people, the reception, the instructors, you know, Jassim, Amar, Miriam, Younes, the instructors there are world class, and they're very supportive. And their energy level, whether they teach in the morning or in the evening, is just consistent, very high, very focused on the student, you know, during the class.
And talk about the actual jiu-jitsu. When you went from learning 2 points to learning Gracie combatives, right? Besides the structure alone, the actual content of jiu-jitsu, did it match your expectation of what you thought jiu-jitsu could be?
Yes, so you know, in my previous experience, the previous gym, there was no structure, very difficult to retain any information. You didn't know where you were in the progress, in your progress. Whereas at the Gracie University in Bahrain, you know, you have this card here, and you know exactly where you are. Before you go into the class, you know what you're going to learn in that class. So even yesterday when I came here, I knew it was class number 6, which is guillotine defense and armbar from mount. So I could even prepare just before the class. So even though I train in Bahrain, at Gracie University in Bahrain, I was in New York and I just walked in. They said, "Oh, hello, this is your card, just go into the class." And I knew exactly what was happening. It was seamless, really.
So he visited the Gracie University CTC Certified Training Center in the UK. How long ago was that?
That was a month ago.
A month ago. And then a week ago,
I was in New York.
in New York at another certified training center. In the UK, he was with Ben Tippin and Benjamin over there.
Yes.
Amazing CTC. Then he went to New York with Christian Montes at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, New York City. Had a class there, showed up. You knew exactly what class it was. You were able to do the class. And he gets credit on his attendance card in Bahrain for the classes done in the UK and the classes done in New York City. And then he's a businessman. He's traveling all over the place. So then he flies over here like, "Henry, I'm coming." I'm like, "Cool, we got you." Shows up, brings his gi everywhere. Classes are free. Because he's a member in Bahrain, he doesn't get charged for the classes at these remote locations, but the curriculum is the same everywhere. And as a new student who's trying to make sense of jiu-jitsu, how does that feel, the consistency?
It's great. It really allows you to retain information. It keeps you motivated as well. And you know, as I've told you before, I convinced my wife to join about 7 months ago. She loves it. She convinced another friend of hers to join. She loves it as well.
So tell them what she does, and she's a mother of what?
Yes, she's a mother of 2. She's a lawyer, although now she doesn't work. She takes care of the kids, of our kids.
How would she have done at the other sport BJJ school?
There was no way she would have.
You wouldn't even take her. You wouldn't have risked it.
Yes.
You wouldn't have risked it. So what he knows is that there would be no chance to introduce his wife to just generic BJJ in the sportive sense, because almost certainly, not only would she have quit, she would have never given jiu-jitsu another chance. Because it would be so negative for her experience that she would say, no, I don't want to do that or anywhere else. And even Gracie Bahrain, she might not even go to the building because it was so negative the first time at the other spot.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So you saved her, and then you brought her to Gracie Bahrain because you saw the culture there, and she felt she was okay with it.
She loves it. She loves the instructors, and she feels it's very safe. It's for her. It's good progress, but it's safe progress. You know, so she feels more confident with time, and I think that's important. The last thing she wants to do is to get injured, especially with 2 kids at home. And you know, so far she loves it.
Gosh, you guys, it's so major. It's so major. We saved her. So your wife in this situation, she's having the time of her life. She's learning jiu-jitsu. She's learning self-defense. And people will often say, jiu-jitsu is not for everyone. You know what I'm saying? These tough schools sometimes, because they're only want to train competitors, because they only want to prepare people to go win a gold medal to make their school look good. So they focus on those ones, and the other ones are just the bill payers. You're just the bill payer. If you're not competing, you're not helping our cause. Yeah. That's why they're checking their cell phone, because you're not going to win the gold medal, so you don't even matter in some cases. So, but people will say, jiu-jitsu, only the strong survive. It's not for everyone. If you can't be tough and you can't suffer in the beginning like we're talking about, you don't deserve jiu-jitsu. They're wrong. Jiu-jitsu is for everyone. The schools that teach jiu-jitsu that way are not for everyone, but the art, and I'm only speaking based on what I learned from my grandfather. He was the one who told me, Henner, when he was passing away, right? When his last final years, he said, Henner, you guys are big guys, you're strong. Just make sure that you keep teaching jiu-jitsu in a way that makes it accessible to everyone who needs it. That was his message to us. Even though you're athletic, don't teach for the guys that are like you. Teach for the people who need jiu-jitsu. And that's what basically where we created this. That's basically where we launched all the CTCs and got things moving the way we have. All of that was in the spirit of making sure that everyone anywhere had a chance to learn. So someone who had a terrible experience tried jiu-jitsu at a Brazilian jiu-jitsu school. If they had a terrible experience, many of them don't want to try it again. We have to convince them.
No, absolutely.
Should they give it another try?
Yes, but at Gracie University.
I think it's the way, you guys. If you've been disappointed by jiu-jitsu, know that jiu-jitsu is for you. It was just dropped. And it was failed, not by the art, but by the deliverer of the art. And if you find an instructor that knows what they're doing, that prioritizes you as a student, even if you're not a competitor winning them a gold medal, and can teach jiu-jitsu to beginners in a way that is safe and structured, and self-defense, what you came looking for. When he said, Henry, I went there, and I was looking for self-defense. And on the second day, we're talking about points. How many people have experienced that? Now, what normally happens is if you didn't quit, let's say there was no COVID, and you're a dedicated guy, maybe you're a loyal guy, you want to stay and you want to write it out. What happens over time is you change your belief about what jiu-jitsu should be. So you showed up with one belief. After 6 months of just training sport jiu-jitsu, what you start telling yourself is, well, I guess this is what jiu-jitsu is. And you become a new belief. Yeah. Do you understand how you can brainwash yourself? Yeah. Versus saying, wait a minute, no, I came to jiu-jitsu for this. It's not that. You realize that because it was still very early when you changed schools. But if you would have stayed for 6 months or 12 months and you would have got through all the bumps and all the bruises and all the injuries and survived the first 12 months, you would go, no, this is jiu-jitsu.
As I told you earlier, I think it was into my third week. I was driving home in pain, but I was trying to convince myself that I love it. At the time, I didn't. In hindsight, I didn't.
You're trying to convince yourself because you had heard about jiu-jitsu. You hear the podcast, see the UFC. So in your mind, you're thinking, I have to love this because it's so good because everyone talks about jiu-jitsu. And the moral of the story is this, you guys. The experience for each individual student is 100% a function of the instruction and the structure through which you learn jiu-jitsu. It's that simple, you guys. Same chokes, same arm bars, many same techniques, different perspective. Is it for self-defense or is it only to go compete, earn points, right? Will change your whole perspective of why you're doing jiu-jitsu, why the teacher is teaching. If they're teaching to prepare you for the gold medal, that's one path. That's a great one and an honorable one. But if that's not what you're here learning and what you're pursuing, then you are an observer now. You're a second priority compared to the students who are more talented and more physical and younger and more athletic. So we're happy to have you here. There's a class right now that he's going to go do. Gracie Combative 6:30, lesson number 7, because last night was lesson number 6. So our friend is going to go learn the haymaker punch defense and the triangle choke. But thank you for sharing your story. All we hope, you guys, is that people all over the world have a chance to hear something like this and go, man, I've tried BJJ as well, and I was disappointed, and I quit. But hearing Evangelos' story, I'm going to give it a second shot. Whether it's at a certified training center or online, learn the curriculum, open up the computer. You talk about as a CTC member, you have access to the materials. You can watch it and review and log in whenever you want.
Yes.
And that's a helpful resource for someone like you who's always traveling, maybe have to take time off. You can still study and stay up on your details.
Absolutely, yeah.
There you go. So if you don't have a CTC, you can still learn online as people do from all over the world, hundreds of thousands of people. And there's no excuse. If you want to learn jiu-jitsu, I'm here to tell you, jiu-jitsu is for you. You just got to find the right learning path. And you'll be right for jiu-jitsu as well. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Say hi to my family in Bahrain. I'm going to come see you guys. Bahrain. I know we had that seminar scheduled pre-COVID, the Middle Eastern Henry Gracie Super Seminar. It didn't happen because COVID was like, boom. I'm still committed. I'm going to come out there at one point or another. And I appreciate all the hard work out there, you guys, all the instructors in Bahrain. You guys doing a great job. And once we get way past this COVID situation, we look forward to opening more CTCs out there in the Middle East with you guys because trust me, they need it out there. And you guys have done a great job so far. Thank you guys. We appreciate it. See you.